So now we have the false testimony for November 20th fully caught, and then they find out that you cannot argue about this anymore because the crime and setting didn't even exist. So they were caught on the testimony stand. My dad's framer sisters were, and they still went to court and tried to argue that they really did witness me commit the crime, only to then find out that the crime was not actually made up by them, like how they probably thought. It was actually made up by the government, since the person helping them fabricate the crime and setting was actually a government informant. So the crime wasn't made up by them, it was made up by the government itself. That was pretty funny when they find out about that. Then they're like, oh, so we can't go to court and argue about this anymore. They're like, no, you can't go to court anymore and try to argue that you really did witness me, Asan, commit the crime. So then, they what happened was they were kicked out for a while. A lot of them were, and then they got a little Christmas in mid-January 2026 when they had law enforcement basically had a 10-year-old child claiming 25 years later that I said anti-government things to him 25 years ago, when I was a 10-year-old child in elementary school myself. This was the most scariest false testimony because I wasn't watched during this time. So all the other false testimonies, at the end of the day, it would get caught. There's no way that, the other ones wouldn't get caught. They would get caught because there's phone records, there's everything else. I was being watched 24/7. This one was the scariest one. And the reason was I wasn't being watched at this time. I was a 10-year-old child 25 years ago. So they basically had a 10-year-old child claim mid-January 2026 that 25 years ago that I said something anti-government to him, and yeah, they got caught with that one as well, fully fabricated by law enforcement. And it was Christmas Eve for my dad and his framer sisters because they started arguing for this child right away, saying that, oh my God, my brain savant should be locked up immediately. Make sure that it never gets freed. Blah blah blah. This and that. Only for this is like mid-January. Early March comes along, and they realize, my dad's framer sisters realize that the government informant was obviously the person handing them the fabrication material. How else would the courts and government be so confident that every time they actually went there, they would just try to create mass panic and chaos, like we really did witness him commit the crime, and people in the courts and the government would just be like, thanks for letting us know. So they realized in early March, my dad's framer sisters and my dad, the greedy framer, they realized early March that the government informant obviously had to be the person handing them and helping them make the fabrication for the crime and setting. Or else, like, when they would go over to court, my dad's framer sisters and my dad, the courts and the government would just be like, you don't understand how serious this is. We really did witness him commit the crime. And the courts and the government, they would just look back at them, just be like, thank you for letting us know. That's enough for today, and that sort of thing. So they realized early March, my dad's framer sisters and my dad realized early March that obviously the person helping them fabricate was the government informant, and the crime and setting obviously didn't exist. It was being made by the government itself and not by them, like how they thought. So basically, what happened was early March, they were making a whole bunch of lies about me, and that's when they realized, oh my God, these lies that we were making about him, we actually confessed these to the government informant as well. So what did they do? They switch immediately from extreme envy of locking up my brain savant, which even right now it's locked up. If you look at April 22nd, 2025, these ears all the way on the back of my head, even right now it's fully locked up. So they went from trying to lock up my brain savant to realizing that the lies that they were aggressively fighting for in early March 2025, they had already confessed. 2026, sorry. They had already confessed to the government informant as being lies, which meant that after these lies would be caught, no one's going to take their word seriously. You had November 20th, created so much mass panic and chaos. You have people like Governor Josh Green putting aside the vaccine issue at the time just to deal with how real their threat for me was. I remember I was in Russia at that time. It was like November 27th, and I turn on CNN and he goes, confusion is the enemy. We got to remove confusion. And the CNN anchor at the time is just looking at him like she was like dumbfounded. Like she was shocked. Like, how could I commit a crime like that? These people knew me for a while. They knew that it was just like not possible for me to commit crimes like that. So basically, what happened was, what happened was after the panic on November 20th, these are new set of lies that they're pushing very aggressively. My dad's framer sisters and my dad. And what happens is they realize in the middle of their lies, pushing it very aggressively in early March 2026, that they had already confessed these to being lies to the government informant. This is how they moved from extreme envy of trying to lock up my brain savant so that my mother can't get any money to extreme greed. On March 9th, both Farah the greedy framer and the spokesperson's greedy framer mother, they both try to get me to marry their daughters. And it was just it's insane. Like these people are like arguing in court that like my brain savant should be locked up, and at the same time they're trying to get me to marry their daughter through law enforcement. This is no joke. Okay, when you're arguing this aggressively and at the same time asking me to marry their daughter, clearly you know that what you're arguing against, you confess to the government informant as being a lie. Starting March 10th, my dad, the greedy framer, starts sending me sexually explicit pictures of his big, fat, ugly, old 300-pound sister, offering the greedy framer every single day starting March 10th. March 7th, my dad, the greedy framer, sends me a porn star named Sunny Leone's picture with his sister's Farah's name on it. This is how these people move from envy to extreme greed. Extreme greed, incest, everything possible. Just make sure he comes to our side and just promises us, gives us the legal assurances of the money any way possible before his brain savant's gonna get freed, because all of our lies have been caught. November 20th created mass panic, that got caught. There's no way we can argue against that because it was fabricated by a government informant, which means the government itself fabricated it. And the second set of lies got caught because you idiots confessed to the government informant as these being lies as well. Now, they had no other option. So what my dad, the greedy framer, and his framer sisters did was whatever the lie was, they tried to aggressively try to argue for this in court again. But before they tried it again, what happened was the government informant comes out and they basically testified that this is a confessed lie. And so afterwards, my dad, the greedy framer, and his framer sisters, either these set of lies or a new set of lies. I have no clue because I'm not in court. But what I do know is these set of lies that he tries after the government informant's testimony comes out mid-March 2026. These require the courts to retrieve phone conversations. And what happens is my dad and the greedy framer and his framer sisters, after going through two sets of envy, March 20th, extreme mass panic and chaos, get his brain savant locked up. Then you have early March or so, extreme mass panic and chaos. We're telling the truth. You have to believe us. And then these get caught. These second set of lies get caught with the government informant's testimony mid-March 2026. And before it gets caught, the government's not stupid. They realize that these people are trying to incest. They're trying to get me to marry their daughters. This has definitely moved from envy to greed. And they probably did confess to the government informant that this was because of my brain savant and the potential for money from it, due to which they were enviously locking it up. Mainly because their kids don't have it, what I have. No one has it. Like, you read the artificial intelligence report, my brain savant's locked up. If you look at April 22nd, you'll see these ears all the way in the back of my head. It's locked up. Who else is a triple savant in this world whose powers increase over time? I don't know of any. Daniel Tammet he's got photographic memory. He doesn't have innovation and he doesn't have focusing. He has to go like this every time he tries to focus too much. He can't do it for 6 hours straight, which I proved August 9, 2022. I could do it from morning till night. I have focusing. And my powers increase over time as well. November 14, 2025, the artificial intelligence report will tell you that. And it is this brain savant and not some guy with a lot of practice studying. And we found that out June 5th, 2025. I was parking my car. They turned it on. It started like a jet engine, not some guy who's going to need at least 30 minutes of practice before his muscle memory kicks in. So basically, it was envy followed by greed, due to which they try to get me to marry their daughters, both for the greedy framer and the spokesperson's greedy framer mother. Um, Offering the greedy framer, disgusting pervert, 300-pound weirdo old fart. She tries to send me sexually explicit pictures of women resembling her. I didn't say the F word or anything bad. I just said old fart because she is big, fat, ugly, old. And she starts sending me sexually explicit pictures of a woman resembling her starting March 10th, like every single day. And then my dad, the greedy framer, also tries his sexual perversions by asking law enforcement on March 12th to ask me if I wanted to sleep with this ugly, old, disgusting looking, weirdo, ugly, weird wife with this big beaver teeth, ugly looking face. Like, I would just like, oh, these people have gone insane. But one thing was for sure, they admitted and confessed to the government informant that this was all about money, or else they wouldn't like come out of the closet like this, all out in the open, like give us the money and we failed, we're sorry, but here, just have sex with us and promise us money. Early March 2026, this was what was going on. March 9th, they tried with their daughters to get me to marry their daughters. March 10th, sexually explicit pictures of offering the greedy framer being sent to me every single day of a woman resembling her, sorry. March 7th, a porn star named Sunny Leone's picture being sent to me 3 times with Farah's name on it. March 12th, my dad, the greedy framer, sending me a request for me to sleep with this ugly, old, disgusting looking wife with these big beaver teeth. And I was just like, man, if you want to work out your sexual perversions, I'm sure you have a lot of people in that neighborhood, old, ugly, just like her. Let me go, please. And then after these set of lies all get caught, the government informant's testimony comes out mid-March 2026. Government's looking over this very closely, by the way. And the reason is these people are making a fool and mockery of the criminal justice system by using the fear of people doing bad things to their own advantage, their own agenda. Basically, lock up my brain savant so my mother cannot get any of the money, and using the fear of bad people in order to accomplish that goal. They had already been found lying on November 20th, creating mass panic and chaos. Governor Josh Green is putting aside the vaccine issue to deal with whether this is true or not. He's looking really angry on CNN, looking at the CNN anchor and going, confusion is the enemy. We have to remove the confusion in this. Basically showing the level of chaos that my dad, the greedy framer, and his framer sisters created just to make sure that my brain savant could not get freed and my mother could not get the money. Excuse me. And so then the second set of lies start right after they're allowed back in, after the 10-year-old gets caught mid-January 2026, which I thought was hilarious. Like, you've got some memory, kid. I said something to you when I was a 10-year-old child. Remember this 25 years later. Really. So it's just that gets caught, and then they're allowed back in court, and then they start lying again. Then when in the middle of their lies, they're obviously going back to court and going like, you don't know what mistake you're making. We really did witness him commit the crime, and the courts are just looking at it like, yeah, I don't think we believe this. They weren't stupid. They realized who the government informant was, and it had to be the person helping them fabricate, which meant that they had also confessed the lies that they were making in early March, my dad, the greedy framer, and his framer sisters, because the level of confidence that the courts and the government had that this crime and setting I did not commit was too much for these people to not know that the government informant had to be the person helping them fabricate the crime and setting itself. So they realized also that the lies that they were pushing forward really aggressively were also confessed to the government informant as being lies. Now, the government informant's testimony comes out mid-March 2026, letting everyone know that these set of lies are also lies, completely fabricated. So then these people move on to trying to get me to marry their daughter and commit incest with them. My dad trying his sexual perversions with his ugly old wife on March 12th. You can ask law enforcement about these things. because there's no communication between me and them, and these perverted things people don't say themselves. They get law enforcement to ask me through ads on my YouTube. Excuse me. They get law enforcement to obviously ask me. I would never do something like that. But like, if there was like some child in the family whom I was trying to sleep with because that child was about to become a billionaire, that artificial intelligence reported, which I'm not saying I am about to be anything, but if artificial intelligence said something and these people in law enforcement went around saying something about someone, if I was doing something like that, which I would never, ever, ever do, I would obviously not text the person and ask them. I would get law enforcement to ask. So that's a plus for me because now law enforcement's a witness. They had to be the one conveying the message between these disgusting individuals, my dad, the greedy framer, and his framer sisters, asking me to commit incest with them, marry their daughters, both for the framer and spokesperson's mother asking me to marry their daughters, offering the greedy framer doesn't have a daughter, she was old ugly fart, asking me in her old age to sleep with her, sending me sexually explicit pictures, a woman resembling her every single day starting March 10. My dad, the greedy framer, trying his sexual perversions, asking me March 12th to sleep with his ugly, old, disgusting looking wife with these big beaver teeth. Oh my God. When you look at that picture, you're just going to be like, this is not what I expected. Why would anyone even ask? It's that sort of thing. Yeah. The good thing for me is the messenger in the middle was law enforcement, which basically means that law enforcement had to convey these messages between me and them. So basically, set of lies, November 20th gets caught. Big panic, mass panic, chaos. After March, early March 2026, they still try to go to court, and before they even start with their other set of lies, they're like going to court for November 20th and saying, we really did witness him commit the crime. You don't understand how serious this is. And the court's just looking back at them like, thanks for letting us know, sort of thing, and it's just like they realized really fast that the government informant was a person fabricating with them, which is why the courts were just not believing it. And so that meant that the new set of lies after March 2026 were also false, which is why they started incest and marry my daughter and sleep with my ugly old disgusting looking wife sort of thing. Like anything, just give us illegal assurances of the money. Like, we've been caught, kid, and enviously locking up your brain savant's not an option, but you better give us the money one way or another. There must be someone you want to sleep with in the family. And it's just like, in the family, what are these people insane? So after these set of lies get caught, what happens is now it's just like my dad, the greedy framers, obviously starts with new sets of lies, and he pushes them forward very aggressively. It's to the point that the courts get sick and tired. They're like, there must be one way of finding out the truth, and they're just like, we're gonna have to retrieve every single phone conversation there was. And the courts are just like, retrieve all of them, every single phone conversation there is, find out if this psycho man and his framer sisters are what they're arguing is in any way true. But if it's not true, then we kick them out for good because we're sick and tired of this. So they literally retrieved every single phone conversation, only to find out that every single thing they said was a lie. Again, the results of the phone conversations, I told the court, I was like, Your Honor, everything these psycho